right, good morning, folks. Today is Tuesday, June 7th. Welcome to the 126th episode of Simply Cyber's Daily Cyber Threat Briefing. I'm your host, Gerald, and over the next 30 minutes, I'll be delivering the top cybersecurity news of the day and providing expert analysis on each of these stories, on what it means to you as a practitioner, or if you're looking to break into the industry, we've got you covered. Shout out and thanks to this stream sponsor, Barricade Cyber Solutions. Cybercriminals have stolen your company's data and derailed your business operations. That's absolutely... Barricade Cyber Solutions will help you resolve this ransomware attack and get your business back on track. If you don't have, an incident response capability, or you don't have a, break glass in case of emergency type person to go to, or an organization, consider having Barricade Cyber Solutions queued up, at least at minimum, in a conversation capacity. I want to remind you, if you hold professional certifications that require CPEs, each episode of First Things First is worth half a CPE, so 2.5 every week, or roughly 10 a month. It's not a magic formula. It's 1 CPE per hour, and we do half-hour shows here, right? So be sure to document literally the easiest, and I would argue the most enjoyable way to earn CPEs. Just say, hey, what's up in chat? Just say what's up in chat with your real name. And if you're using some, like Steve Lowry right here, afternoon all, boom, Steve Lowry's got credit for the CPEs. But if you have something like, Fellowship of the Ring, or, like whatever, something crazy like that, be sure to drop your actual name. That way it's indisputable that you are, in fact, here today. If you're live, love it. Thanks for being here. I see 43 of you coming in, pushing the doors, holding doors for people, taking seats. Good stuff. If you're on replay, thanks for catching the stream. It's always good. We make it available for everybody. So depending on what your situation is, what time zone, maybe you're shuttling the kids to the last week of school, whatever it is, we got you covered. Thanks so much. You can scrub right to the right when that timer in the corner gets to 0, and we will start the briefing if you're watching on replay. But if you're here live, well, then guess what? We're going to hang out for the next 2 minutes and 27 seconds, sipping coffee and saying good morning to everybody. So good morning, everyone. Specifically, what's up, Frederico? Colin, what's up, Annalyn? Good to see you. Yes, Bill Green, how you doing? Jim Wales, Elliot White. I saw Pamela in chat. I kind of jumped into chat before we went live this morning, just to say hi to everybody. Getting amped up for my my wife's cold orzo pasta salad. It's like a cucumber salad on steroids. It's wicked good. What's up, Nicholas Pierce, Makia? Good to see you, Ryan Spishak. Latrent, hopefully you guys had an awesome Monday. I had some great conversations. I went radio silent yesterday for a good period of the day. If you're on the Discord server, you may have seen that. Went radio silent, knocked out a ton of work. Super, super pumped. Got ready for my Citadel summer course that I'm teaching. I did that mostly over the weekend, but I buttoned it up last night. Just a ton of work, right? So it's no stopping us, right? Hey, what's up, Rolando? Cybersecurity Central. Guys, if you're not connected to Cybersecurity Central on LinkedIn, consider following. Cybersecurity Central puts out great material around like what's going on in the cybersecurity kind of industry, not necessarily around. It's more like, oh, hey, this week in cybersecurity, there's this threat briefing, and Jack Scott's reporting from RSA, and cyber insecurity is doing this, or Renee Smalls is doing that. Like, it's really, really cool if you want kind of a central nexus on what is active this week for consumption of information within our industry. Hey, Jim Lund, I always see you coming in from the West Coast. I appreciate you getting up early and hanging with us. Joe Senor, good to see you, man. Hopefully you can join for the live playthrough tomorrow. Hey, Black Knight. Good to see you always. Patrice Cheeseman coming in on LinkedIn. We are streaming to 9 different channels right now. So it's mostly YouTube people, but we've got Threatgen's YouTube channel pumping, Josh Mason's YouTube channel pumping. There's probably BSEC is probably the one person lonely over at the Twitch, Simply Cyber Twitch channel. So it's all good. You guys drinking coffee or tea this morning? Yeah, Kimberly. We're the revolution will not be televised, but it will be broadcast on live stream to 9 different outlets. Hey, Chinadu, good to see you in Ontario. North America representing hard. We got anyone from out of continent? Maybe we can run for all the places today. We always enjoy doing that. All right, looks like we're at 0, everybody. Hey, Shalene, good to see you. Cybersec Kevin, always nice. All right, now that the coffee is fully loaded, let me switch coffee cups to my... So the first coffee cup is my get ready cup. This is my let's do the news briefing cup, okay? Let's dig in. Oh, what's up, Saudi Arabia? Nice. All right, we got the UK, Europe in the house, Australia. Oh, cool. If anyone from Africa is up in here or South America, chime in. Love the representation, guys. Global community. Cybersecurity really doesn't recognize boundaries, and I love it. All right, guys, if you want to follow along, go over to Simply Cyber. Oh, excuse me, don't go to Simply Cyber. Go to cisoseries.com. David Spark and his gang, we're going to follow this. So let's get into it. Here we go.
CISO Series, it's cybersecurity headlines.
It's Tuesday, June 7th, 2022.
What's up, Pretty? Thanks for representing India.
Future, Alphabay. In July 2017, global law enforcement coordinated on Operation Bayonet to take down the dark web marketplace Alphabay, seizing servers in Lithuania and arresting its creator. At the time, Alphabay was one of the largest and most active dark web marketplaces. Usually, when these kind of sites go down, another gains popularity to take the top spot. However, in August 2021, Alphabay came back online, announced by its former number 2 administrator, known as D-Snake. Now, thanks to takedowns of several other prominent marketplaces, it seems to have regained the number 1 spot on the dark web, showing 30,000 unique products from 1,300 active vendors.
First of all, dark web marketplaces have been around for a while. Ross Ulrich made it popular initially with Silk Road back in the day. There's an awesome Darknet Diaries on Silk Road if you're interested in catching that. But these marketplaces, they allow the exchange of goods and services that are solicit, right? Or illicit, excuse me. So, the common one is like drugs. That's kind of what blew up Silk Road initially, but then it evolved into weapons services like Hitman and stuff like that. So now you can obviously exchange data, credit cards, wares, personal information, user accounts, malicious software, etc. Really interesting. That it's not surprising to me that there's a dark web marketplace. Alphabay was the big dog. It was the alpha dog, if you will, LOL, and it's back, which is not surprising. Guys, here's the deal. If you have the ability, like, first of all, if you made a bunch of money, like life-changing money at one point, and then that service or platform disappeared and you had the means to bring it back, wouldn't you bring it back? Again, you've got to risk, you got to do the risk reward calculation over, like, I might go to jail for 30 years, which I'm not into. But if you're, driving Lambos and throwing money out the rooftop, screaming money ain't a thing, maybe that's your bag, right? So whatever. But these dark web marketplaces aren't going to go anywhere. Like, as they said in the story, as soon as one goes down, another one pops up because there is a market for it and it makes a ton of money. Okay. That's all there is. I do appreciate that law enforcement is really awesome about not only being able to quantify how large it is, but they're obviously monitoring it, right? And I would, at this point in my life, I would be very leery of operating a dark web marketplace just because law enforcement is hip to the game. This isn't some secret thing. It's like they know about it. So, if Alphabay is the top dog, pay attention. I bet you, I would guess before the end of 2022, there is some kind of coordinated takedown or, some type of takedown or impact to Alphabay. They know who the second in command was, so they just have to catch that person, right?
Caracur adopts bill collector tactics. Ransomware is already pretty awful, with the current double extortion and leak site tactics adopted by numerous organizations. However, a joint advisory from the FBI and CISA warns that the group Caracur is using harassment tactics to encourage paying ransoms. The details of the ransomware are routine, running from $25,000 to $13 million in Bitcoin, with a 1-week deadline, showing proof of access to the network and stolen data. They pair this with emails and phone calls to employees, business partners, and clients, warning that the company needs to pay the ransom, often exaggerating the amount of data exfiltrated.
Okay. So here's the deal. Caracur, which we read earlier this week or last week, that they are essentially like the extortion arm of the Conti ransomware gang, apparently. guys, this is nothing new. It's just, I think it's interesting that they're adding this level of complexity and difficulty to their operations, right? It like pushing a button and sending 500 phishing emails out and then having like an automated C2 infrastructure kind of exfiltrate data, maybe notify an administrator that they need to go in and look at something, right? Like a criminal administrator. That's all fine and it scales, right? When you're making phone calls, unless they're automating the phone calls with bots, which I doubt they are, you're adding a massive overhead. And I know it sounds silly that I'm talking about like criminal business operations and like resource utilization, but that's what it is. So this is very peculiar to me. Now, is it effective? I don't know, but I find it interesting that if it's almost they're trying to apply embarrassment pressure to businesses. So your business gets hit, right? Let's talk about I think it was Joel Belton's ice cream shop. He gets hit with ransomware. He tells him he's not going to pay, whether he can or cannot pay because he doesn't have the money or because the U.S. sanctions say he can't pay, whatever it is, he's not going to pay. So then they're going to call all the customers of the ice cream shop and all of the business partners and say, basically the ice cream shop is compromised and all this other stuff. Like, I don't think it really turns the heat up on them to want to pay. It's an interesting tactic, but just thinking about it, I'd be curious. I'll go back and look at chat. I don't think that this really ratchets it up. If anything, it solicits like empathy and sympathy for the victim organization, I would think. So
China concludes its cybersecurity review of Didi. The Wall Street Journal sources say China will soon conclude its cybersecurity investigation into Didi Global, which will see regulators allow its mobile apps to return to domestic app stores and let it register new users again. While Didi received the biggest headlines from the Chinese crackdown after it went public, the logistics platform Full Truck Alliance and the recruitment firm Kanzan also received similar security reviews after going public. Didi is expected to offer a 1% equity stake to the state, give the government a direct role in corporate decisions, and pay a relatively large fine. Didi recently voted to delist from the New York Stock Exchange to pursue a listing in Hong Kong.
Okay. So all right. I don't know why this is a cybersecurity probe, but China, this is kind of crazy, right? So China basically put a ban on new users joining Didi. I don't know what Didi is. It sounds like it's some kind of like cloud infrastructure type product or something. Like they offer infrastructure or something like that. They did a probe and now they're lifting the ban, and the outcome of that, whether it was a finding or not, but I mean, it just reeks of like bending, right? So Didi is going to delist from the New York Stock Exchange, list on the Hong Kong Exchange. So it's decoupling itself from the U.S. economy. Also, it's going to give 1% equity stake of the company to the country of China and put Chinese high-ranking political officials on the board. Essentially, they said it will guide the decision making of the company. I mean, basically, they just it almost reminds me of like feudal times when you like bend the knee to the king, and like now the king owns like most of your land and tells you what you're doing, right? That's what this sounds like. Again, I don't know what DD is, but if this is how they needed to survive. Oh, it's a ride hailing company like Uber, I guess. Whatever. I guess it doesn't really matter what they're doing. They are whatever. So this just happened. I guess I'll just leave it at that. There's really nothing cybersecurity here.
Felina hits local governments. Bleeping Computer reports that local governments in at least 2 U.S. states have been targeted with phishing campaigns using malicious rich text format documents designed to exploit the Felina Zero Day. The researchers suspect this is a state-aligned campaign, noting that it also hit governments in Europe. Emails promise information on promised salary increases, which are used to deploy a PowerShell script to exfiltrate information. This targets browser passwords, data from desktop apps, and local computer and network information, indicating the goal is overall reconnaissance. While Microsoft released mitigations for the MSDT flaw, it has yet to release a patch.
All right. So guys, this one is super juicy with story and content. You guys ready? All right. Sit down, sit back, relax, get ready. Here we go. First of all, I make a ton of like content, right? Like cybersecurity related content. I look at uh, I look at stock images all the time. I've never seen this one before. Usually I recognize the stock images. This one's cool. All right. Like it's got 0 and 1s in the big pipe, and then it's got like these kind of quasi COVID looking spores on the email. So kudos to whoever found this stock image. Secondly, the Felina bug. We talked about this, guys. John Hammond has a really good video on YouTube on showing this being exploited. So check that out if you haven't seen that yet. Not surprising, we saw gray noise reporting an uptick. Oh, wait, that was a different thing. Like Felina, we knew it was coming, right? And now it looks like U.S. local government's being attacked, which, by the way, local government, they are grossly underfunded and understaffed around information security. And then the Felina attack is basically nothing new. It's a simple phishing attack. That's the way they get you to launch it. Simple phishing attack, by the way. Like, you should tell your end users if they see like, Unicode glyphs in their email, chances are it's a phish, right? So this right here, and obviously the username, email address are huge red flags. But they are using the technique of offering a 20% increase in salary. Guys, if you don't know, when you are educating your end users about watching out for phishing, which, by the way, like, depending on what report you read, 70 to 80% of all attacks start with some type of phish, unless it's like a physical pen. But phishes are huge. So you have to educate your end users on what to look for. And sometimes it's like threatening, right? Like, oh, you're going to have your account shut off. Someone's in your bank account. Click here. But sometimes it's like a carrot. Hey, 20% increase. Hey, tickets to the Stanley Cup Finals to the first 30 employees that reply. Whatever it is, it's getting people to react emotionally instead of react logically. And here's the attachment, straightforward. This thing is basically executing Felina, which will operate the same way that macros work. It uses that Microsoft debugging tool, and it runs PowerShell. And once it runs PowerShell, it's off and running. It'll probably go pull down a new file, execute the file on the machine, and the machine is then fully compromised. It also looks like it's doing information stealing, kind of like look up Redline Info Stealer or Raccoon Info Stealer if you're interested in learning some more, but steals browser passwords. That's another reason why you shouldn't store passwords in your browser ever. Stealing data from apps. Looks like we got some email, FTP passwords, remote desktop configurations. I can guarantee you if they're pulling remote desktop configuration, username and passwords, right? FTP, all these things, they are absolutely going to try to authenticate with them as soon as they get those creds. Okay. Whatever this is. What is this? The PowerShell? Yeah, there's the PowerShell script. No big deal. So guys, here's the here's the takeaway. One, right click save this stock image because this is cool. I'm going to use this sometime. I'll probably use this on LinkedIn later today. Second item, educate your end users on phishes. Third item, if you haven't handled, excuse me, if you haven't handled Felina in your environment, whether it's the workaround, as far as I know, Microsoft has not released the patch yet for Felina. Make sure you have done something in your environment, whether it's configuring the firewall the email gateway not to allow attachments, which would be a gross overcorrection if you did, but even that wouldn't stop it because they could host it on a file sharing service and get a user to click on a Google Drive link. So that's not good practice. Basically, disable that Microsoft desktop debugging tool and run the workaround and then watch for the patch and educate your end users about this particular attack. Okay. Whew.
And now a word from our sponsor, PlexTrack.
All right. Now a word from our sponsor, Simply Cyber's GRC course. I'll just take 5 seconds. Okay, guys. Many of you in chat have already taken this course. Most of you have said really wonderful things, and I genuinely appreciate the honest feedback. I didn't ask anyone to say anything nice or negative. People run to their own opinion. Simplycyber.teachable.com. I think if you do ! GRC in chat, you'll get a link to it. If you haven't taken this class, it's pay what you can, meaning you can pay $0 up to $49, which is what I priced it at. And it will teach you all of the the fundamental aspects of a GRC analyst, right? Security awareness, how to do risk, how to do audit, how to get a job as a GRC analyst. I think it's awesome. It's good. It's enough that I wanted to use this commercial break to share it with you. So if you're interested in learning about GRC, giddy up on that.
PlexTrack is the CISO to learn how PlexTrack can help your team deliver results. That's plextrac.com/CISO series. Binance used to launder billions. An investigation by Reuters found that between 2017 and 2021, the cryptocurrency exchange Binance processed at least $2.35 billion worth of transactions from funds received from cybercrime, investment fraud, and illegal drug sales. This echoes a report from Chainalysis, which found that in 2019, Binance received $770 million in criminal funds, more than any other exchange. In some cases, funds pass through multiple digital wallets before reaching Binance, something that's generally a red flag at financial institutions. While Binance has historically had weak money laundering protections, in August 2021, Binance strengthened its money laundering checks, compelling new and existing users to submit identification. Binance described the reporting as wildly outdated and disputed Reuters' findings.
All right.
I'm a crypto evangelist. I love it, love it, love it.
Okay, guys, Binance, you may have heard of it. They're huge, right? They are a huge crypto exchange. Okay, so I'm going to be cynical Jerry here, okay? First of all, they get paid for people using their platform, right? They make money when people exchange crypto money on their platform. With all due respect, it's in, like, if you think about their business model, they are, perversely incentivized to allow and almost, desire, like enable illicit money transfers, right? If all these ransomware groups and all these APTs are stealing crypto and they need to clean it, this is an awesome way to do it. And Binance gets a little taste. Now, having said all that, yes, it's completely illegal for Binance to be a money laundering shop. But I almost want to call it plausible deniability. Plus, money makes people do weird things, man. If you're looking at the money and you're like, oh, we made okay, they laundered $2.35 billion. I don't even know how much that would be worth to Binance, but let's just say it's worth $100 million. And they're like, hey, boss, we are noticing that we are laundering money for illegal enterprises. Oh, well, we shouldn't do that. Yeah, well, we'll stop doing it, but our revenue is going to go from 100 million to 20 million. You know what I mean? Like, it becomes a business decision, and businesses are in the business of making money. So, whatever. Even the fact that they didn't even start asking for identification until August 2021, and they've been around for 5 years. That means they operated for 4 years with zero idea, or you could misrepresent who you were and be able to launder money on these platforms. So whatever, exactly. Look at this. Binance had no idea who was moving money through their exchange. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. So whatever, as legislation begins to tighten up, as the control of how this money is. We just saw recently someone was being brought up on charges, I think Department of Justice, for sending money or violating U.S. sanctions through sending crypto to somebody who's on the sanctions list. So there's regulation and stuff going around this. So if Binance, obviously Binance is starting to tighten up because people are looking at them like, dude, you cannot operate a money laundering business. That's not okay. So anyways, crypto's going to crypto. Am I right?
LastPass goes passwordless. LastPass began rolling out the ability to use its Authenticator app to access a password vault on desktop rather than using a password. The company claims it's the first password manager to offer passwordless access on desktop. Master passwords will still be required for registering an account, adding new trusted devices, making account changes, or if a passwordless attempt fails. LastPass already offers a way to log into its mobile app with biometrics.
Okay. So a couple things here, a couple micro, one big macro thing that I want to share with everybody. Call it hot take. Spicy! Right? Okay. It won't be too spicy, but it'll be a hot take. All right. So LastPass is one of these password vault managers. I personally use Bitwarden. I used to use LastPass. I now use Bitwarden. I've been very happy with Bitwarden if you're looking for an option. LastPass is going passwordless. Now, currently on the mobile app, you can unlock your vault, which is using your master password, which should be a really complicated passphrase, okay, that you share with no one because it's the key to your kingdom. But on the desktop app, which everybody uses too, right? If you use a password vault, you use it across devices. It's a wicked pain in the butt because you basically have to type in your really complicated, tricky master password on the app on your desktop. And now they're allowing you to use your phone to kind of authenticate. If you've ever logged into Discord and used on a desktop, but used your mobile phone to authenticate by scanning the QR code, very similar experience. They didn't say QR code, but the idea is that you don't need to know a password because you have a device that's logged in and you're going to kind of use that to prove who you are. Love the idea. Okay, so good on LastPass for continuing to innovate and make themselves a viable option in the market. Now, here is the hot take central. This is just another indicator that we are moving to a passwordless I don't want to say society, but a passwordless kind of norm in our modern society. Okay. Think about how often, like all the iPhones now come with face recognition, right? The old ones used to come with thumb. I'm sure Android people, you have some type of, you know, biometric recognition or hardware YubiKeys. I know on Microsoft operating systems, at least Windows 10, I'm sure 11 does it too. You have like 9 options on how to authenticate. For the longest time, I would have a picture of an office, like a really cool Silicon Valley looking office, and you would have to like circle 3 things in the picture, and that's how I would log into my machine. Passwords suck. People share passwords, people reuse passwords, people pick crappy passwords. They are an easy target. They happen in data breaches. Threat actors can guess passwords, right? We all know passwords suck, but they are so entrenched in the way that we handle accessing IT that it, especially for, end users who aren't tech, forward, that it's a very difficult thing to break free of. Even passphrases has been difficult to gain adoption. But passwordless authentication is coming. It is the way. It will be more secure than a password type approach. And to say passwordless does not mean less authentication. It means authenticating in a different medium. And because that different medium will be hard to attack, it's more secure than passwords. But be real. As soon as we move off passwords altogether, threat actors are going to pivot and start finding ways to attack whatever becomes the new norm of authenticating. So that's like a junior hot take, right? So I'll just do toasty kind of light, right?
Critical flaws found in Unisock chips. Checkpoint research documented these stack overflow vulnerabilities impacting Unisock Tiger T700 SoCs found in recent budget Motorola phones. These flaws resulted in the phone skipping checks to make sure that it's reading a valid subscriber ID when connecting over LTE, opening the door to a denial of service attack. Checkpoint alerted Unisock in May, and Google plans to release a patch in its next Android security bulletin.
Cool. Okay, so Unisock actually had a story last week. Unisock, they're like a chip maker, or they have, Motorola makes the chip. And I think it's the same chip that we had a problem with the other day where there was an issue with the modem where you could do a man in the middle, or they said man in the side attack on it. So this isn't good for the Unisock. I almost feel like there's like some security research group that's looking at the Unisock chip and just releasing finding after finding. Essentially, this allows a denial of service attack. So whatever. I mean, not a major problem. I mean, it would suck to be denied service, but is someone really going to do that unless you're like some type of VIP or high-ranking diplomat or something like that? Like the chances of you being targeted are pretty low. And it sounds like this is something in the interface between the chip itself and the way that the operating system interfaces with the radio, specifically around the LTE. So the Android operating system can be updated to close this vulnerability, right? Which they said, by the way, is a pretty big vulnerability. They have a score here of 9.4 out of 10, Remember, 10 is the worst. Why can't I highlight this? It's annoying. So anyways, long story short, best practices, people, basic cyber hygiene. Keep your devices, whether it's your phone, your tablets, your laptops, your computers, your middleware, your TV, your Echo virtual assistants, your Ring doorbell. Keep it all patched, people. Simple as that. Keep your stuff patched. And by the way, just as a fun fact, because I always trash on Android operating system, if you have some type of like non-major release of Android operating system, meaning, so if you have like Google Pixel or Samsung, your operating system is very close to the root of the Google Android operating system. If you have some kind of like really low priced and kind of splintered off version of Android operating system. So I don't even have an example, but say you bought some phone off of Amazon for like $8 and it's running some, it's running Android operating system, but oftentimes they'll fork it and add all their own stuff to it. And when you update the Android operating system, it will break all that additional stuff that the vendor wrote. So the vendor will basically not allow the new updates to come in because they'll have to rewrite all the code to work with the new version of the operating system, which they don't want to do. And that's part of what you're not paying for when you buy a cheaper one. Like the money isn't there to pay for the staff to do that. So you could be, if you try to go update your Android operating system and you find you cannot, that is probably why. Like that's the main reason why vendors don't support future iterations of the operating system. I had like a Toshiba tablet back in the day, and I never understood why I couldn't get off of, I was on like, Kit Kat or Jelly Bean or something like that. And we were already way up into like, licorice or whatever. We were way into another one and I couldn't figure it out. So that's why I looked into it.
You thought it was safe to sequence your DNA. CISA and the US FDA issued an advisory warning of critical security vulnerabilities in Illumina's DNA sequencing software. These vulnerabilities are rated 10 out of 10, letting an unauthenticated actor take control of the product remotely and take any action at the operating system level. This could impact settings, software, or data, leading attackers to show incorrect or altered results during diagnosis. There's no evidence that these have been exploited in the wild, and Illumina released software patches for impacted devices.
All right. So I did work in healthcare for a while. The FDA is the one who manages like certifying medical device equipment. This one just says it's a DNA sequencer, which is, I mean, they kind of lead with that because it's kind of sexy to talk about DNA sequencing. At least in my world, it's sexy to talk about DNA sequencing. But it says that the attacker could basically exploit, get the OS and change settings and stuff like that. So the quick one is, if you're running this, the vendor probably has already reached out to you on how to repair this. The bigger problem that's worth noting here, and I noticed this a lot in healthcare, I'm sure it's the same in manufacturing. These devices, they're built and they're kind of, they're certified for the longest time. Guys, okay, so they're built, they're certified, they get put in the environment, and then nobody wants to touch them, right? And then as an information security person, I'm like, hey, this thing's got critical vulnerabilities. It's a hot mess on fire. What are we doing here? And the vendor's like, well, we can't touch it. Or the engineer, like these type of devices typically do not fall under IT's perspective, right? Or purview. IT looks at like servers, endpoints, network. Medical devices, that's not our job, right? That's what IT will say. That's not our job, right? If anyone in chat right now works in healthcare, please correct me or echo me, because it's everywhere I've seen, this is the deal, right? It basically becomes like orphan technology, right? Some places will have like biomed people who manage it, but they're not managing it. They're just making sure it's up. They're not securing it. They're not worried about the configuration. It's a very, very gray area. A lot of times also the vendor will be the only one authorized to actually work on it. They'll actually put like, they'll hide the admin panel and require like a hardware key that only the vendor technicians have access to. Sometimes you have to sign, like it's such a money racket too. Sometimes you'll have to sign paperwork that says like you'll pay them $60,000, $70,000 a year to have maintenance come out and touch it. And the risk here is that if you have someone who's unqualified, like say like Carl works in your hospital and Carl's going to fix this thing, and Carl doesn't know what he's doing, Carl could totally jack this thing up and compromise, potentially leading to patient safety issues, right? Or data integrity issues. So that's why the vendors say we can only touch it. But a lot of times these findings come out and people are like, well, we don't know what to do. So if you work in healthcare, you know what I'm talking about. This is not a rare story. This happens all the time. It's just, I think it's because it's DNA sequencing. It's kind of got some sizzle to it, so it made the story feeds. But long story short, with these type of devices, you have to think, like, this is a great opportunity at an interview. They may ask you something like this. Like, you need to think bigger picture around controlling stuff like this. So you may put this on its own network segment that does not allow ingress, right? It only allows egress. Maybe you, if this is like running Windows XP embedded, maybe you do an inline Raspberry Pi firewall where like it has to go through. There's no network connection in or out except through that. And maybe you put a network tap, right? You cannot install an EDR agent on these devices. First of all, it probably wouldn't work. Second of all, you're beginning to compromise the integrity of the overall system by adding EDR, endpoint detection and response software onto it, right? So you need to think about how to secure this thing without touching this thing, right? And it's usually handled at the network layer because that's kind of your two options, right? Endpoint or network. All right. Well, that was a fun little academic exercise. What else we got? Oh, looks like that's it for the news feeds today. Let me turn the music back up. Guys, I went with lounge music today. I think future pop is really where it's at. I want to share with everybody, if you are interested, tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Threatgen channel, I will be doing a live Let's Play of the Threatgen Red versus Blue cybersecurity gamification platform. I'll be operating as the blue team. I have extensive experience executing as a blue team member, building information security building information security programs. And this one, typically we have a theme to it, but today or tomorrow at 11:30, I will just be building a program and explaining my entire thought process, what I'm seeing, why I'm making the decisions I'm making. So if you're interested in learning from me about how I would build an information security program, how I would respond to an active adversary, because there will be a red team operator attacking me, when to make decisions. Because during the game, there's a couple points where like I have glaring problems. I'll have a compromised host. I'll have a problem over here, and I'll be making decisions that seem counterintuitive to like what you may think. Well, why am I making that decision? I'll explain it to you, right? And I'm not always right, but I have my philosophical underpinnings on how I approach building a program and being a chief information security officer. So if you're interested, come join tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. on the Threatgen channel. Also, what do we got here? What is this? Oh, this is cool. So, if I'm not mistaken, next week or the week after, I will be fighting. I will be fighting Eric Taylor from Barricade Cyber Solutions in a heads up Let's Play. I believe I'll be the red team. Yep. And Eric will be the blue team. And we'll be going heads up. I'll be streaming live on my channel. Eric will be streaming on his channel. And the Threatgen channel will be esports broadcasting with Clint Dungeon and Simon Lindstedt as the commentators. So if you're interested in like a really high energy live event, like an esport event, where one of us will win and one of us will lose. We did it a couple weeks ago with Josh Mason and it was awesome. Come join us for that. I'm actually really excited about that. I only break out the laser eyes for heads up play, so it'll be a good time, to say the least. All right, so that's gonna do it, guys. I hope you had a wonderful experience at the daily cyber threat briefing. Hit the thumbs up if you got any value out of it. That always goes a long way. Oh yeah, Ryan, I'll be wearing my cyber US Cyber Games jersey, no doubt. You look for it. Share this, guys. I saw some of you share some really nice things on social media. Victoria, I saw what you wrote. Genuinely appreciate it. This adds real value to people. And from a networking perspective, from a meaningful connection perspective, and from just a better execution of your job because you know what's going on and you're ready to attack the day. So share it with your socials. Bring a friend next time, and that'll do it. So it's been Tuesday, June 7th, episode 126 of the Daily Cyber Threat Briefing. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a great day, everybody.